Well, hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the KickOut. I go by the name of Ryan Skillit.
My name is Mekz.
Mekz, we have a special guest with us today. I know it's so obvious if you're watching this on YouTube. You can blatantly see him right down at the bottom. If you actually looking at him right now, you probably have seen this man on the internet a lot more times than you think. This is Mr. Louis Dangoor. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to chatting wrestling. It's what we'll get into talking about it, but it's something I do less so now in sort of audio form. So any chance for me to blabber on about wrestling, I'm more than happy to do. So once again, thank you guys for having me on.
Well, for those who don't know who you are a writer for Give Me Sport, journalist. You used to actually write and do a lot of work for Wrestle Talk.
Skillit, that's lead writer, by the way.
Sorry.
Exactly.
You are absolutely
number
right.
one.
I apologize. That is very important. Thank you for that, Mekz. The lead writer. Let's go. For Give Me Sport. And like I'm very fascinated by you, Louis, because I mean, before we actually met in person, I was an admirer of you. I was like, you're very young, you're very intelligent, and I just felt that your opinions and how you kind of like gave across your opinions on wrestling and what you thought that your knowledge of wrestling at such a young age as well, and the stuff that you even know before you became a wrestler fan. You know a lot of stuff previously as well. You're a historian of wrestling as well. I always loved your tweets, and I was like, yeah, this guy, he gets it. This guy, he fully gets it. And I've always kind of you've always tweeted stuff that I just generally agreed with, to be honest. So, and I think that's what kind of maybe build my interest up with you. And then obviously I saw you a lot on the Quizlemania quizzes, which I felt I could have sworn you became a champion a few times on Quizlemania.
I did. I think I was one. Was it once or twice? It was at least once. I was a Quizlemania champion.
Yeah, you were awesome. I mean, I went on there one time and I was terrible, but let's not talk about that. There was so much pressure. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, I just want to talk about you before we talk about anything wrestling related. Can you please tell us a bit about your backstory, what got you into wrestling, and how you became to do what you do right now?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, firstly, thank you for your kind, and I'm sure many people would feel undeserved words, perhaps myself included. But
not at all.
It's a weird one because I kind of got started young, so I'm only 21 now. But I started kind of writing about wrestling when I was 8. Was that 18 or 19? I was 18. I was 18. I was in my first year of university. I was studying politics at university. And I was just so bored. I had 6 hours of like lecture time a week. And I mean, if any of you guys listening have been to university, first year is essentially don't fail.
Yeah.
Facts.
So it's like if you pass, you're fine. Yeah. So I didn't really have to do much work. So I was finding myself to be really quite bored. And so my brother actually had the idea. He was like, hey, we both listened to the Wrestle Talk podcast. Like that was a thing that we didn't do it together, but we just both did it at the same time, just never together. So he said, why don't you ask them if they've got any writing spaces? He was like, you like wrestling? It's a good idea. So I was like, you know what? It's a very good idea. So I sent off an email to the Wrestle Talk sort of lead writers at the time, the head writers. And I was like, hey, look, not expecting to be paid for this, but have you got anything? Any spaces for me to do sort of voluntary content, I'm more than happy to do. And then it really sort of transformed from there for me, just doing occasional feature content, to me being asked to do news, for me then doing the weekend shifts of news and kind of manning it all on my own with the social media, and then becoming one of the lead editors. And then kind of it all just transformed from there and took over. And then, sorry, that's my doorbell going. No, and then during COVID, things took off because everyone was at home. I was at home. Everyone was at home. And I was like, you know what? Let's really make something of this here. Let's really give it a go. My university was like, you don't have to do any of your work. So I was like, okay, cool. From April, I was like, right. Until September when uni restarted, I was like, right, I'm going to make this wrestling thing like a proper thing. So I basically just started messaging wrestlers on Twitter, being like, hey, let's do an interview. Let's do it. And then I kind of became the interview guy. that Russell Talk doing interviews. I got to speak to some amazing people. One of my first interviews was with John Moxley, which still like blows my mind. But it was kind of just transformed from there with COVID. And then so I graduated uni in July, and around May time, I was like, right, what are we going to do here? Like, what is like, it's been good to kind of get a bit of an income and get a lot of experience while I'm at university, but what's happening here? What are the next steps? Because I was then at a point where I was like, right, I need to decide if this is what I want to do, or if this has just been like a fun couple of years. But I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather do than get to talk about wrestling, which is it's a great job. So I just thought, you know what, let's give this a go. Started with Give Me Sport, kind of one of the people that was leaving Give Me Sport as the WWE guy was like, hey, I think you'd be great for this. Sent over my details to the Give Me Sport higher ups, and I had a couple of meetings with them, and then now I'm heading up their WWE coverage, and as their lead. I prefer the term lead writer. We need to get that one in there, but no,
absolutely.
It's cool then to have like my vision and be able to implement it, and kind of do what I want with the coverage. Like if I want to write about, I don't know, I wrote about today, Vinicius Jr. did he mimicked the John Cena celebration. I was like, you know what? I find that interesting. Let me write about that.
Yeah,
it's kind of
absolutely.
Nice to have that autonomy over the content I produce. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Nearly 3 years now. Nearly 4 years. Nearly 4 years.
I love that. I think it just kind of gives people. I think a lot of people just don't see that just trying things or just being like, you know what, I'm just gonna DM somebody, and if it happens, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And you're not taking failure as an option. You're not taking failure as oh my god, he didn't get back to me. No, this is not going to work. You just keep going, and look, you just at a quick time, you just really developed something really special for yourself. Max, did you have a question?
No, well, I was going to say, and I have to say I see that amongst just a lot of younger people as well. It's this mentality. Well, the worst they could say is no. Whereas I feel a lot of older people overthink things. How will I come across? Will I look this way or this, that? And a lot of young people out there just going in, getting what's out there, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, man, never play down the fact it's lead writer, because you've earned that position.
I appreciate that
position 100%. But I have to ask, you're at university already, doing a lot of obviously writing. Why going in as a writer? Because I thought, your story, I thought maybe you were going to say it was something you were doing already, maybe on a blog of your own or something like that. Like, why writing per se? Like, did you feel that was your best way of getting your points of view across, rather than, like, say, video or another kind of media?
It's definitely it's something I thought about at the time, and listen, I love to talk. Hey, you guys will know me. I love to talk. So that was kind of, as you say, something I wanted to do more. I wanted to do more on screen stuff. But as I'm sure you guys will know, that's a lot harder to get to definitely start.
Yes.
It's particularly when you're at university, when I've got to be honest, sometimes I was just like, you know what? It is particularly when I was doing voluntary and I was just able to come on whenever. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to not do anything today and go and have a social life with my friends. And I think that the writing gave me the flexibility to kind of do what I wanted to do and shape and get experience and kind of shape my content and find out what people like, what people didn't like. But writing is definitely kind of the easier to get into. It's the easiest way to kind of broach that gap between being kind of a consumer of content and then the people producing the content. Because if I were to start if I were to start a YouTube channel, then kind of doing stuff, I'm not sure the kind of coverage I'd get. But if you get that platform where you're writing and people are starting to acknowledge your work, then creating the video form of content is a lot easier. But yeah, it's definitely something that I thought about when I got into it as sort of an end goal, and something I would like to do more was definitely the on-screen stuff. But one thing I wanted to add to what we were talking about earlier with young people and kind of DMing people and kind of getting a shot, the amount of times I've say I DM, I don't know, 100 people a month. That's just a number off the top of my head. I don't think it's much less than that. I might get 2 or 3 responses.
Right.
And I think that's what people like. One thing I would say I'm quite proud of the fact is that I didn't get disheartened when I didn't get a response. And I think you've got, like you guys will know, you've got to be thick-skinned. Like in this game, particularly with social media and kind of and the cutthroat nature of it, and kind of how people like how the whole idea of getting talent to come onto your platform works. You've just got to be thick-skinned and resilient with it, and kind of just keep going and keep going. And if you get a no, try again with someone else, or kind of think about maybe approaching that person in a couple of months when they've got something else. So kind of, it's one of those things where, and again, that came from writing, where just experience. Like if I went in there trying to get people onto my show kind of in my first week of producing content, it might be like, who is this guy? But once you kind of build up that name and build up that experience of working with people, it does get a lot easier.
One thing I noticed with you, Louis, as well, is like when you point you have your own opinion across, you will always speak honestly about things. So you may mention, I don't know, say a match happened with like, this is a random this is a random bunch of wrestlers I'm mentioning, but say there was a match back in '96 between Ahmed Johnson and Goldust, right? Hypothetically speaking. And what I love about you is that if you were to talk about that subject, you would always say, listen, I may not have been there at the time when I watched this, but I have this is my perspective today on what this match is like. And that's what I love about you. You don't try and clout chase. You're just honest. You speak from the heart. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I always felt it was a master stroke from Wrestle Talk to actually get you involved, because you have a group of men who are around the same age. Like some people may be a bit older than others, but they're around the same age, and they probably all kind of seen the similar things.
Same generation.
And I think your generation needs to have their voice. You know what I mean? It's like, because what we're talking about ultimately is what's happening now, right? No matter what's happened before, we're ultimately talking about wrestling today. And it's important that we get young people who are watching wrestling today and having their opinion. And I think it was great that they had you involved with that. But did you have to deal with any backlash of just because of your age? Did you have any like trolls messaging you like, what do you know? When you
I still do. I still like it's still kind of, you get those kind of, I call them the miserable like 30 to 35-year-olds
100%
who are just upset that I'm covering wrestling. And I'll put a comment out there and they'll be like, oh, what do you know? You weren't watching at the time. And I'm like, okay. Like,
okay. I just feel like that's such a, like, I banter with my younger people with I do say little things like that for jokes.
No, of course.
I don't mean to ever shut somebody down because of their age.
Of course.
But you're absolutely right. You would have.
And I'll do the same thing with like. So I used to host a show with Alex McCarthy from TalkSport.
Yeah, and big up Alex, man. Big up Alex. We love Alex.
We would just take the mick out of each other's ages in different ways. Like if we had to push the show like an hour later one week, I'd be like, oh, like, is it past your bedtime? Like, I know you you old man now, you got to get to like, and it's nice to have that banter. And I think, as you say, there's a difference between people that I know still respect my work, giving me a bit of banter for my age. Exactly. Like John Alba on Twitter last night, we were talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about, but it came to like, oh, WWE wanted Justin Bieber to host like WrestleMania one year. And he was like, oh, like 12-year-old Louis probably wanted that at the time. And it's stuff like that where I know those people still respect my work. Yeah. But you can have like a bit of like a banter and a bit of sort of give and take with them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like 100% I get messages from people sometimes that are like, oh, what do you know about this topic you weren't watching? Or when I talk about, so I did an interview with Eddie Kingston a few weeks ago. And he spoke about the similarities between his feud with CM Punk and CM Punk's feud with John Cena in 2011. And a couple of people just sort of wrote back like, oh, what do you know? You were only like 10 at the time. And I'm like, yeah, but because of that, I've had to do a lot of research into stuff that either I was watching as a youngster and didn't really grasp, or stuff that was before my time, because you've always got that target on your back when you're that age. And it's quite an easy thing for people to comment on, that I almost feel that whenever I speak about something that is slightly out of my timescale, I've got to make sure that every fact that I give or every opinion that I give is backed up with some sort of evidence, so that I can't really give those people an in to be like, you don't know what you're talking about.
But there's a reason why you are where you are, Louis. It's not a case of you just watching wrestling and then this is you study it, like you just said, you do your research. I miss the ages of Superstar Billy Graham. I miss that, but I know a lot about Superstar Billy Graham. I know a lot about Buddy Rogers, but I didn't see him when I wasn't even born. When do you know what I mean? I wasn't born when he was wrestling, but I still know a lot about them because you can go back and research. You can know what it's you won't know exactly what it was like at that time. But if people today never heard about Pele, but you were like, listen, check out Pele's work, you can do it on YouTube and you can see how great that man was.
Yeah.
So it's just I just get so confused how people just don't understand the art of just
it's ignorance.
But I also think in a way it can be a good thing. Like you get people like almost I'm detached from that situation in a way, so I can give almost like a slightly more balanced view. Not say that they can't, and I think that is the good thing about wrestling, where we should try and get everyone's voice to be heard. So whether it's women, whether it's people of color, whether it's young people, whether it's old people, 100%. It's nice if you're sitting on a podcast or a round table to have a different opinion from everyone and kind of a different perspective to grasp that. And I'm not saying that people should get me on their podcast because of that. Like, I hope people just, if they like a lot of people that I'm friends with, will invite me on because whatever. But I think that it's nice to have a different sort of perspective of opinions. And I think that I can offer that, being obviously that slightly younger age that grew up during John Cena's reign, but was a young kid that loved it, as opposed to everyone else that was like a teenager or sort of in their 20s and hated it. So I think it's nice to kind of get those different perspectives. So that's kind of the way I try and look at it, as if it's a good thing as well. And like sometimes it is a bit of a hindrance where people will be talking about stuff and I'm like, you know what, I have got no clue what you're on about. So kind of, and then I go away and do my research. So I don't see it as a sort of massively negative thing at all.
And so before we start talking about Survivor Series and whatnot, I kind of want to know a bit more about your wrestling history. Who are your guys? Sure. Like who is your Mount Rushmore, Louis? Who's your favorites?
So like growing up, I was always like a Daniel Bryan fan. I kind of love it. She's like that story of the underdog. Like it's so easy to get into. But like when I first started, which was around 2010, I loved Cena. Like I thought he was the coolest guy. And like when he beat the Nexus, like in hindsight, it was awful, but I loved it. I was like, oh, it's cool. Like this good guy is beating up all these bad guys. Like I love it. And then kind of when I got a bit older, I really became a Brock Lesnar fan. Like a big Brock Lesnar fan.
Underrated.
Yeah. And one of the things about wrestling that I've come to realize that I like is I like wrestling to feel like real. Yeah. Because I'm sure you guys know, like covering it and being fans, we're always told, like, oh, it's fake, right?
I know, exactly.
So when I can be like, oh yeah, and my favorite is Brock Lesnar, that guy that does the UFC, like works in UFC, the guy that's huge, and like no one's more real than him. So I always liked him and the reality that he brought to it. But yeah, I guess if I had to give like my three favorites of the time that I've been watching kind of through, it would be like at the beginning Cena, and then Daniel Bryan, and then Brock Lesnar. And now, I mean, it's too many to put my finger on. I've become my life has become so sort of centered around wrestling that to pick one as my favorite would be impossible.
That's a solid three, though. That's a really good three.
Yeah, it shows that I was the WWE guy growing up, because I mean, until like 7 years into my wrestling sort of fandom, it was only WWE, because WCW obviously wasn't a thing. TNA wasn't really easy to access over here. So yeah, it was all WWE guys. But yeah, as you say, not a bad three to kind of
not a bad three at all, man.
To kind of have.
Do you have like a favorite tag team of all time?
Oh, I mean, I am kind of
I know who you're gonna say.
I love FTR.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing.
Like I've become relatively friendly with them since like getting to cover wrestling, and they're two great guys. Like whenever Dax, especially whenever I talk to Dax, I've never met someone that has such a love of not even knowledge, such a love for wrestling. And it's so nice to see someone that loves it so much. As one of the things I respect about him most, and he's unapologetic about it. He's like, I love wrestling, and he has such a passion for it. And it's one of the things, honestly, I really, really respect about him. So, I mean, one of my favorites would definitely be them. Again, they've got that reality thing where they make it feel real. So we feel as if it is real too.
Yeah, what you said about Dax is spot on. I had an interview with him. Would have been WrestleMania, the New Orleans one. 2018, right? Yeah. And we just did nothing but talk about Midnight Express. That's all we saw. That's all we talked about. And his eyes is lit up.
I was gonna say that sounds like sort of thing he'd love.
Yeah. So okay, well listen, that's brilliant. Mekz, do you have any questions before we move on to Survivor Series for Louis?
No, let's jump into it. The pay-per-view that we were expected to Rock to turn up, and by God, he didn't.
Well, he did not. It was held in Brooklyn, New York, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and yes, at the Barclays Center. That's right. Which is so strange because usually I associate the Barclays Center with like an NXT takeover and a
SummerSlam, even.
Or a pay-per-view, and I was just like, I was a bit disappointed. I was like, oh yeah, there's not going to be no takeover because everything's changed now. But there is a takeover coming, right? There's a War Games coming.
But it's not
NXT
takeover.
War Games.
Is it not takeover?
They've removed takeover from the title, and it's just NXT
so
War Games. Yeah, man. I don't know.
I feel for Triple H, man. I really do.
I know. Right. It's his baby.
I know. He must be distraught, man.
Baby's been kidnapped.
Exactly.
All right. So Survivor Series was in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. I think the first kickoff match, if I'm right, was Nakamura versus Damien Priests.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go with you, Mekz. I only caught the end of this match. I didn't see majority of this match. Was this a good match?
It was an okay match. Nakamura isn't where he should be. I think quite a lot of people, the majority of fans, are fairly invested in Damien Priest. They've obviously recently changed his character to this actual playing of his name, Damien and Priest. But I think it set a bad kind of taste in my mouth because the kickoff show match didn't have a finish. Boogs was playing his guitar. Damien Priest had warned him, stop playing the guitar. Boogs kept playing it. He went out the ring, broke the guitar, then clocked Shinsuke with the broken guitar. Obviously, no DQ. And that is on the pre-show. The mid-card championships or the champions shouldn't be on the pre-show anyway, to start off with. So the fact you didn't even give that match an ending, I was literally like, we've got 3.5 more hours of this. Like, this is just the beginning. So, decent match in action. I do kind of like what they're doing with Damien Priest's character, but it's a bit too cut and dry down the middle, like bad guy, good guy, or flipping the switch. But it's no finish. It's like, come on.
So, Louis, did you think? I mean, when I saw this ending, I assumed, are they turning Damien heel, or am I wrong here?
It could be. Yeah, I kind of think they're trying to do like this split personality thing where Damien's the face, but Priest is the heel, and it's a bit confusing. But yeah, it was kind of like it was just disappointing to see the first match as the kickoff. And even when I saw this online, as without a finish, and even when I saw this online, that it was going to be the kickoff show, I was like, why these two? Like, this could have been like a low-key banger on the main card. Like, if you just let them go out there. And even like Mekz, when you were running through what happened in the match, and it's like, and he's playing the guitar on the outside, and then he told him not to, and it's like, it sounds stupid. Like it sounds like if you had to, and I always try and think about it this way. When I kind of gauge whether something is stupid or not, and I'm like, if I had to explain this to someone that wasn't watching or wasn't a fan, would I feel a little bit embarrassed? And I would with this. I would feel a little bit embarrassed, where I'm like, yeah, and then he was playing a guitar and he kept telling him no, and it's like it's a little bit stupid, and that's only because I feel this way because of how good the talent is. Like of how good the match could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was kind of definitely a signal of intent when the first match ended via sort of like a DQ or a no finish. It was a bit like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
This was a bit of an upsetting spot for me to see Nakamura in, because obviously it's not, when I say upsetting, not in a surprising one, but I literally watched Survivor Series 2017 the other day, and you remember the atmosphere with that 5-on-5 match. I think Nakamura and Bobby Roode was on the same team, and I think Finn wasn't, and Finn was on the opposite team. I think Finn was on Raw, and Bobby Roode was on SmackDown, and Nakamura was on SmackDown. And it's just the atmosphere and the way Roode, Finn, and Nakamura was over. They were so over. And you fast forward to 2021, and
if I'm correct, that was probably that's the year they got called up, isn't it? Because Nakamura won the Rumble in 2018.
Yeah,
so yeah, they would have been red hot straight out of NXT. But again, the things continuing from NXT to main roster is it's just not there.
So that was a disqualification. That was a no contest match. The next up though, this match was brilliant. I felt Becky Lynch and Charlotte really opened up Survivor Series special for me. I loved what Becky Lynch was wearing. That was a bit of a tribute to Britney. That's a little Britney tribute. I believe on the Toxic video. I don't know, the red outfit. I think it was Toxic. But yeah, this is I felt that this, I mean, some people didn't like the ending, but I really enjoyed this match. I felt it was booked to perfection. I really felt these two really hated each other. Louis, what did you think of, first and foremost, the build up to this feud and the payoff?
Yeah, I think it was the most interesting story WWE's done in some time, and I don't think it was obviously like what they intended. It was just the fact that these two kind of legitimately don't like each other. And I know some people are like, oh, is it a work or not? Like, no, I think they actually just don't like each other. And they both did a great job in kind of media interviews to kind of spice that up. I wish more of that was kind of played on TV, but the video package for this match was great as well. And as you said, I felt like they hate each other, because I think they kind of do. And they came out there and they just beat each other up, and it was awesome to see. And it was nice to kind of see them be professional. And I expected them to be, but I expected them to just go we might not like each other, but we're going to deliver a great match. And that's exactly what they did. I like the finish as well. I kind of think it suited both women, because they are both heels at the end of the day. So, and kind of Becky has been playing the baby face, but it was kind of nice for us to be reminded again, no, she is a heel. So I thought that was good. And yeah, the match was great. And if anything, I think the fact they don't like each other maybe helped them have an even better match than they did.
I think you're absolutely right. Mekz, what did you think of the fact that these two were doing great transitional wrestling, great maneuvers, but there's moments where they break out into real fight? I love that. What did you think of that?
It's what Louis said earlier on in terms of you want your wrestling to feel real. We knew obviously the beginnings of this as to the title exchange nonsense that again WWE didn't need to do, but they caused something, and then obviously the whole breakout of the coming to light of their relationship. They played off it pretty well. They documented that through a great video package, like Louis said as well. And then we got a match where it was still wrestling, but like you say, elements of just a straight fight, happening and taking place. People can complain about the ending, but these are two of the top stars in the company, definitely in the women's division. They were going to have to do some type of funny ending anyway to protect these guys, one or the other. So it makes total sense. At the end of the day, this is an inconsequential fight. Both people will return to their rosters, and it'll probably not be spoken of again, sort of thing. They'll crack on with whoever their number one contenders are. But probably on the night, the best match.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to say I agree too. Next up, the 5-on-5 men's Survivor Series match, Raw versus SmackDown. I saw a tweet. Let me get this tweet up. I got tagged into a tweet earlier today about how they should start booking the 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches. Did you see this, Louis, on Twitter?
No, but I've seen all week kind of people. Xavier Woods has done it. Drew McIntyre's done it. Basically, wrestlers being it should have more stakes to it.
Yeah.
100%.
So this is from the Wrestling Travel. So from next year, the winnings men and women's Survivor Series teams should be rewarded with the 5 places of the winning team, obviously, in an elimination chamber match. And whoever wins that, I think that's a great idea. So it's they're all fighting for a title shot. They have to work as a team. and then that winning team gets put in the elimination
Yeah, I
chamber.
think whatever it is, they just need stakes. Like you need to know that's why I didn't mind what Kevin Owens, which we'll obviously get on talking about when he just left. It's almost the fact that the match had no stakes. I almost didn't mind what he did because he's like, yeah, like I don't care about anyone else. Like why should I've got nothing to gain.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to kind of give us a reason to care, particularly when the brand loyalty thing doesn't work because the draft is like so soon before Survivor Series. So a lot of these people were on SmackDown like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So what's the reason that they're fighting? Why should we care? And everyone has said this on every single podcast, so I'm not going to go on about it because it is a broken record. But yeah, just a bit of added stakes into it where, as you say, if it's a title match or if it's a shot at a title match or if it's something to do with the Royal Rumble or if it's the main event of the second night of WrestleMania or whatever it is, as long as we've got a reason why these people are fighting, I'm quite happy with it. But this match, yeah, I didn't know how to feel about this match, to be honest. It was like, yeah, like it was decent, but didn't really like it. Like considering the talent involved, I think I was expecting a little bit more.
I agree. I felt it had some great moments in the match, but I just, I wasn't as enthralled with it as I should have been. Mekz, what did you think?
I think it was a good match. It was a decent match, but the problem is, like we're saying, you get taken out of it somewhat because there's no stakes. There's no consequence to whatever happens. And at the end of the day, Seth Rollins got the win. He was the sole survivor, which furthers his story as, number one contender or that contract thing that he's got to go up against Big E. So obviously he looks strong going into that whenever they're going to, pull the trigger on that match, probably this day one pay-per-view. But apart from that, it didn't really mean much. And that's probably why we all kind of feel a bit flat about it. But I thought it was good in parts, like you say.
Did anyone stand out to you in the match? Like any performances from Team Raw had Rollins, Finn, Kevin Owens. Obviously Kevin Owens left, like Louis said. But Bobby Lashley, Theory, SmackDown had McIntyre, Hardy, Xavier Woods, Corbin, Sheamus. Did anyone kind of who was the best performer you felt? I really like Seth. I think Seth was really good.
Seth had a good showing. I'm intrigued to see why Jeff Hardy lasted so long. In the match. I don't know where they're going with that. I love Jeff Hardy from my childhood, but I'm not sure how much I'm invested in him today to see him be like, one of the last men standing.
I think he's going after Roman Reigns.
That's mad to think. I've been hearing this, but I'm thinking if they do a ladder match, like he calls Roman out and say, this is my domain, a ladder match for the Universal title, and we get that, fair enough. I'm down for it. But should Jeff Hardy be there?
I think it's like a short-term thing. Like it's fine, and it's kind of a stopgap between they get to like Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre, who I think are the big ones. But if you look down the SmackDown roster, like there's no one huge apart from Drew. Like there's no one massive. So I think we could see it 100%. I think that we'd see it, and like I think for kind of people still love Jeff Hardy, and I mean all accounts on Raw, all accounts of Survivor Series was that he was getting really good reactions.
Oh, absolutely. He's a star. He's a bona fide star. He's like always getting great reception no matter where he goes.
So I think he could be someone that we see facing Roman Reigns in the next couple of weeks.
It was nice to see Seth and Jeff. And I like that little back and forth between them two. I actually quite entertained that. So it's nice to see them two finish off that match. Before we talk about the next match, there was a lot of, adverts, trailers, promoting the Great One. It's the Great One's 25th anniversary. The Rock. We saw a backstage promo with Vince McMahon and Roman Reigns sitting down, and Vince McMahon had access to. Obviously we saw him come at the limo first and foremost with the egg from what's the name of the film? The Rock's in?
Red Notice.
I don't know why I'm laughing. The way you said that was quite funny. So the Rock's new film with Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot called Red Notice, and apparently there's some sort of not Easter egg. There's an egg which like a piece of jewelry that's quite.
Do you remember when I spoke about earlier how he's trying to explain something and it feels stupid?
Embarrassing.
This is what I'm doing right now, and that's the thing. I think this is the struggle we all do. All of us wrestling fans deal with the struggle. We have this collectively, but we try to explain something, and the guy who does watch wrestling is looking at you like you're an idiot.
Like, so. I've got a big TV, and as you can guys see, like my door is there, and I'm like, no one walk in, please, no one walk in. I'm just like, I can't be bothered to explain it. But I have a question for you guys quickly. When obviously we saw all of this stuff and it was geared up, did you think The Rock was coming?
I didn't until the pay-per-view started. Mekz didn't at all.
I didn't either.
Mekz don't think Rock is even showing up tonight. I think Mekz thinks Rock.
Oh, I don't think he's there tonight either.
Yeah, Mekz thinks he's coming next year in Hollywood. But I didn't. I thought maybe they could do it. Then I agreed with Mekz. I said, no, they probably won't. But then the way this pay-per-view was kind of built, it was like, oh no, he probably is going to show up today. And I guess he probably would need to kind of hurry up and get a match done. And maybe next year he'll do a Hall of Fame speech, because his next match will be his last match. This match against Reigns. Rock ain't wrestling after that, so he'll probably need to get it over and done with and to stick to doing films properly. But he probably won't show up tonight either, to be honest.
I won't lie. I hoped he would come. I hoped I was wrong, and I hoped we would see him. But the minute I think they showed the first video package of him debuting, I thought, yeah, that's all we're getting tonight. Video packages.
But a lot of Brooklyn, I could tell a lot of people in the crowd in Brooklyn thought The Rock was coming.
But like, I get it, and I get why people were upset. But I kind of tweeted this, and I was like, they didn't promote him, and I think they would have promoted him. Like they would have been like, so I was, when they didn't promote him, I was like, okay, he's not going to be there. And I think because I went in with no expectations, I wasn't disappointed. But if I went in thinking he was going to be there, then I could see myself being disappointed. But I guess with like, and I kind of, based on reports, it was all linked to like, they wanted him there, but because of COVID and his filming schedule, like travel restrictions, it was difficult. And obviously this is the world we live in now, where kind of, you can't just go from one country to another in like hours. It kind of, it's a little bit more difficult than that. But yeah, I do think that it felt like they'd thrown him a party and he just didn't show. Like, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done this to the extent they did.
No.
If I knew he wasn't going to be there. But I just didn't expect him to be there. So I was like, oh, all right. Like, and kind of the stuff with Red Notice, I get, like, it's kind of, it's all for like WWE probably, like, it's stupid. It's very stupid. But WWE probably got quite a decent payday out of promoting the film from Netflix. You know, you're like, okay, like, I get why they did it. But yeah, it was all a bit stupid. It was all a bit, it wasn't how I would have executed it.
Goofy product placement. And that is what WWE have been doing for years.
I think how they can turn it around, though, is if they kind of stick to doing this theme going forward with different people. I know this sounds crazy, this sounds nuts, but if they like were able to actually land The Rock for next year, right, at Mania, I think they should just keep going with this Rock build and to the fact where people are like, why do you keep doing this? He's not coming, and then he just shows up. But then again, that still might not be.
It's not a bad idea. But like I had this interaction with someone on Twitter today, and obviously everyone is going to be on Raw tonight, so we're going to find out who stole this egg thing. And everyone was like, "Who do you want it to be?" And I was like, "I want it to be someone stupid, so it doesn't mean anything." Like I just wanted, like, Hornswoggle turns up and it's him, and it's all it's a bit of a joke and whatever. Who cares? But like, I don't want it to be someone, I don't know, like Roman Reigns does it, and then we're all like, oh my god, like, don't get this top guy involved with something stupid. Like, at least do it with someone that no one cares about. It's a bit of a joke, and then we just get it done with.
And I was saying this to my mates earlier, that, you know, they got Roman in the office with Vince, and he's talking about this egg, and I'm just thinking, the tribal chief and an egg, like, come on, where are we going with this? And Roman no-sold the egg. Yeah, even you know, Vince was saying 100 million and all this kind of stuff, and Roman's face was like, all right, like, okay. Like,
that was the only shining light.
The
fact that he just didn't care.
Yeah, I think Roman's doing a lot of good work right now. He's making clever decisions with his character.
Yeah,
so
100%.
So next up was The Rock's 25th anniversary 25-man dual branded battle royale with Pizza Hut as a sponsor. This was basically an Omos show. I guess this was a great way of booking Omos. I'm not really a massive Omos fan, if I'm honest with you guys. I liked him when him and AJ first got together and he had that debut at Mania. I actually really did enjoy that. But since then, I'm just a bit like, oh, whatever. But you know, Vince loves big guys, and I guess this was a good way of making him look great. I don't know what you guys think. Let's go to you first, Mekz. Did you enjoy this match?
It's a battle royal, isn't it? This is a good way to give Omos something, and at the same time give him absolutely nothing. I want AJ Styles back. And I'll just leave it as that. I need, I keep tweeting it, free AJ Styles, because he's in the latter, the November, if you like, of his career, and I ain't trying to see him go out like this. Like, we need AJ Styles back.
Yeah, I kind of basically exactly what Mekz said. Like, it was the best way to put almost on the card and make him look great, while also not making him look bad and highlighting his flaws. Like, it was just very, very simple. Just chuck people over the top rope. Like, okay, yeah, I can do that. It was fine. Kind of just a bit nothing. It was like, yeah, I could have done without seeing it. I probably would have put this on the pre. Like, so I tweeted when Shinsuke Nakamura and Damien Priests was announced for the kickoff show. I was like, is something going to happen here? Because this match, based on, and like nothing against the talent involved, they're all immensely talented, but where it was like the position of the talent on the card, I was like surely something big has got to happen for this to warrant being on the main card. And the only thing that, like, in WWE's eyes was that The Rock's name was affiliated with it. But for me, this had pre-show written all over it, and I would have put it on the pre-show and given Priest and Nakamura the main show slot. But yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, fine. Like, I could have done without seeing it, but it wasn't offensive in any way.
Yeah, there was some fun elements. I think Street Profits was quite fun with the pizza, giving out the pizzas and throwing it into the crowd, and not giving it to Brian Saxton and giving it to Michael Cole, and I think there was some spots that were supposed to be funny but didn't pay off, like the Otis spot that didn't really pay off. I don't think the crowd was just like, what is going on here? But yeah, it's some silly stuff, but yeah, a nice little comic relief, I guess. And then and I was hoping Ricochet would get a bit of a better showing at the end, but that was cut short. So and the crowd was going nuts for Ricochet, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But anyway, next up, RK Bro, Orton and Riddle versus the Usos. I actually really enjoyed this match.
It was a good match.
Yeah, it was good. The finish was great as well.
Yes, obviously the RKO. Orton always hits that. Has he ever, apart from back in that spot he tried to get Cody Rhodes and he messed up back in 2003, has he really ever messed up the RKO?
I don't think badly. Like, it's quite, like, I think it's quite an easy move. Not an easy move to hit. Like, if I tried it, I'd fail massively.
Yeah,
but like kind of, and the timing's got to be right. But like the actual execution of it, it seems like quite a simple move. You kind of like with him coming off the top rope, you kind of just go with his fall. Yeah, but it's still very very impressive, and kind of they got a great reaction from the crowd anyway. So yeah, I thought this match was decent.
He's a master of that though, man. He's like, how many RKOs has he done throughout the years? And he's just incredible. But this was Orton's. How many? What was the match?
I think the number is 177. I don't know, Louis, if you know for sure.
Yeah, so that was his 177th. He was previously tied with Kane with 176. This was
crazy.
I've had to write that stat like 6 times. So I do know that one.
Well, he's definitely one of the greats, Randy Orton. Love him or hate him, you can't deny he's a solid worker.
I wonder where that number is going to end up, because this guy plans to wrestle for probably another 10 years. So,
do you think?
I think he plans to, like, his style dictates that he can just keep going, really. And yeah, I don't see him. How old is Randy now? Maybe mid-40s.
He's 41.
41, he can definitely go to.
I think he could, but I could see him being the kind of guy that, like, when his deal's up, he's just being like, "No, I'm just gonna chill. Like, I'm happy. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm quite content. Like, I mean,
he seems to have a pretty sweet deal as it is right now. Yeah. So, like, if he can kind of still go, and even if he's, later on in 5 years' time, even if he slows down a bit somewhat, I mean, WWE have 10 to 12 pay-per-views a year. He can still push that number up, quite a bit over the next 5 to 6 years. So,
wow. What do you guys think of the Riddle and Orton pairing?
I like it.
I do too. I enjoy it. I think it's been booked really well, and obviously there's going to be a moment when the Viper does bite, Riddle, and I'm assuming that's going to be around WrestleMania time, and have them to go off against each other and try to make Riddle a bona fide star. But so far, I think they haven't really misstepped much for this booking. Mekz, what do you think?
What I like about it is that Randy Orton's still very serious in character, and where he's always wringing Riddle's neck in as like, stop messing around. We have to kind of, stick to the plan and get things done. As long as that is like the catalyst to the eventual turn, I think that makes hella sense. Like,
I think it will. I think it will be. I think it'll be a situation. I feel like Riddle will cost them the titles. And Orton just was like, you're not listening. I've told you so many times. I know that's a bit cliche, Louis. I know that's like, we see that all the time, but I could just see that being.
I mean, I had an idea, and this might be stupid, so feel free to tell me if it is. But because everyone expects it to be Randy that turns. But I maybe want to see him like really get into the friendship and like start to trust Riddle and have fun with him. And then Riddle turns on him.
And his reason is because of when Orton turned on him the first time.
Not even that. Maybe just maybe Orton cost not like inadvertently cost a match or gets pinned or something. Like, I just think that because everyone expected to be Randy, and obviously that makes it's kind of Randy as a heel works, but I think he's so over as a babyface right now. Like, I think that you could maybe have Riddle turn, but like I'd be happy with both. I think it's good options. And yeah, the eventual match and. Will hopefully put Riddle over as like the next guy, kind of the next person to break through from that mid card and sort of upper mid card to the main event.
I like it. I think it's different, and it's something a lot of people wouldn't expect. So I think that's good.
Riddle's massively over though. At the same time.
They both are. They both are. Right now.
He is. No, you're right. All right, now I'm gonna have a confession to make. Between this match, I actually fell asleep. I woke up in time for the main event. Funny enough, but I started watching this match. But yes, the next match is a 5-on-5 women's Survivor Series match. So I'm gonna need you to discuss and tell me exactly what happened, because all I remember was Carmella being eliminated. And that was
Let me hold my hands up. I was dozing off as well. I was awake. I was fully awake.
Guys, what's going on here?
No, I was fully awake, but I felt myself going. There were various points where I was like okay, like let me just get up and have like a walk around my room so I can regain composure. But it's a long show.
This was the tactical nap slot then that you both took.
No, like I was awake and I remember everything that happened. But if I wasn't working and I was just watching as a fan, it would have been this or the Battle Royal where I took my tactical nap.
Well, let's put in summary, and this is what I was going to actually ask you guys. We got down to Bianca Belair, the only Raw superstar left, against Shayna Baszler, Natalya, Sasha Banks, and Shotzi. So 4-on-1.
Oh, wow.
And some way, somehow, Sasha got eliminated because she got counted out while she was fighting her team. But some way, somehow, then the other three, Bianca Belair found a way to overcome and won it for Team Raw. Right. Now, I love Bianca Belair. I think she's brilliant. I think WWE have noticed the star power in her. They're sending her to do all the media and ambassador kind of stuff. She's a very lovable babyface at the same time, so it's kind of very organic. But this, to me, smells like something that fans will now begin to, turn on her for, because she's been overpushed. Like, this was too much. She actually overcame. And I know she's the strongest and all of that stuff, which makes it easier to believe. But how do you guys feel about Bianca Belair overcoming 3 or /4 women?
I think because she's so loved, it will be fine. Like, I can't see fans turning on her. And I think like if she beat, like, say Liv Morgan was on SmackDown, who fans really love, and she beat like Liv Morgan, okay. But because like fans want more for Baszler, but I think they'll happily have Bianca Belair go over. Natalya, like, I think she's a very solid hand, but I think her time has been and gone. She's great to have on the roster, but like I don't think fans are clamoring for her to kind of win a Survivor Series match. And with Shotzi, like she's one for the future for sure, but I don't think her time's right now. So I think it was a kind of fine 3 that she beat, and then obviously Sasha got counted out, which was stupid in itself, and we kind of saw that a lot, which kind of devalued it. But I think Belair is so loved that she'll be fine. I can't see fans turning on her, but I quite enjoyed it. Listen, like she won the Rumble, main event of WrestleMania. She she looks like she is now like the biggest compliment I'll get for her is I don't think now when I think of like the top women in WWE, I don't automatically go to the 4 horsewomen. Like she is in that bracket. Like she is well in that bracket.
Yeah.
And no woman has broken into that bracket since the 4 horsewomen arrived. So that is the biggest compliment I'll give to Bianca. And it is nice to see WWE doing good by her and pushing her. So I think she is at a position now, and I hope WWE don't abuse this, but she's in a position now where fans like her so much that I don't think they are going to turn on her.
I kind of agree with Louis, and it could be also a way of them thinking maybe we need to build her back strong again after the 6-second loss to Becky Lynch, and that could have come to play with it as well. So, and I totally agree with what Louis just said. She's the only women's wrestler since the 4 horsewomen that's arrived that's kind of broke into that superstardom bracket.
Asuka was close, but they kind
Asuka was definitely close.
They left plans on for her. Like I don't know what they did.
Asuka is a star, but they just unfortunately the way she was booked didn't make her become the star that she could have been. All right, time for the main event. Roman Reigns versus Big E. Now, I noticed something. I don't know if you guys are Seinfeld fans. Maybe you're a bit too young for Seinfeld.
I only know this because I know Big E is every interview I've done with him. He's mentioned Seinfeld. Yeah.
Right. So Seinfeld is one of my favorite all-time comedies. It's on Netflix. They've actually put it on Netflix now. So if you ever want, season 1 and 2 is a bit. I have to admit, because I was just 4 in the morning, I didn't even clock the Seinfeld. I didn't clock it was a Seinfeld homage attire. I only clocked it after the match. But the ring attire. But yeah, Biggie had a dedicated Seinfeld ring attire with all the classic Seinfeld phrases like Serenity Now and Hoochie Mama, and they had like this muffin top thing. And you guys, I'm speaking French to you guys, but anyone that's listening to this that watch Seinfeld will know what I'm talking about. So big up Biggie. That was lovely. But this match, I actually really enjoyed this match. I don't know what you guys felt, but I was really into this match. I thought this match was brilliant. Louis, let's go to you first. What did you think of this main event?
It was good. It was really good. Like when you put these two in there, it's going to be great. I like the fact, obviously, he kicked out the spear. I saw some people saying that Big E should have won. I disagree. Like, I don't think now is the time to beat Roman. I think that Big E, like, he feels like he's on Roman, like maybe not on Roman's level, but he's close enough that I just don't think now is the time to beat Roman. I think when he does lose, he should lose the Universal title, and like that should be the moment. And I don't think now was the moment to beat him. But yeah, I think it was a great. It was a great match. It was a great main event. I think considering the finish of the Becky Lynch Charlotte Flair match, it was the right call to main event. If that had maybe a more definitive finish, I would have probably said that match should have main evented, given kind of the stakes and the heat that was into it. But yeah, I think it was very good. It was very, very good, but it was exactly what I expected it to be, kind of considering the talent involved. It didn't exceed my expectations, although my expectations were very high, if that makes sense. So I don't want that to take away from it. It was good. It was very, very good.
Mekz?
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. It was a very good kind of WWE match of the two big men and doing what they do best. I think they tried very hard to, obviously knowing Roman's going to go over, to still make Big E look very, very good. My one question is, I'm happy it had a clean finish. Obviously, there's talks of, why did they have this match? Big E losing so kind of early into his WWE championship reign. Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, last year they had Roman versus Drew McIntyre in this spot, and they somewhat protected the finish. There was some type of interference. I can't remember off by heart. Probably the bloodline got involved, and Drew McIntyre lost. So they kind of protected him in that way. But there was nothing to protect Big E here. Where do you guys kind of stand on, WWE champion being pinned, albeit by Roman, who is immense right now? Like, I personally feel like it shouldn't mean nothing at Survivor Series, because this is kind of like an exhibition match. But at the same time, they are going to use Roman is going to come out at some point and say, I pinned Big E. So all of a sudden you're making it mean something, if you see what I mean.
But I honestly felt it was the right decision personally.
It was.
I don't think. I think the days of protecting your world champion who's just become like, I don't think that really matters as much as it used to back in the day. I don't think this damages Biggie at all. If anything, they made Biggie look incredible. I think this is a logical storytelling of a fact of where was Biggie for majority of his career, a tag team wrestler who is now becoming a singles wrestler who's just become a champion. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was a singles wrestler that had the IC title for 4 years and then became a world champion. He was a singles wrestler who had the IC title for maybe a few months and then became world champion. Do you know what I mean? So I think the story of him becoming even though he loses some matches, but him getting used to that main event spot, him getting used to becoming a world champion, becoming a singles wrestler, but getting better and better and better. Even though he'll win, he will lose, but he will always get better to a point where he finally gets to be really strong. I think that's how I would book it. It's like, if Ronaldo or Messi was in a Champions League final, one of those great footballers is going to lose, right? So it's like, why can't we have that with wrestling?
I guess it's like with a boxing fight or whatever. Like Joshua and Fury fight. Like one of them's going to have to lose.
Yeah,
doesn't mean that they're still not one of the best heavyweights in the world. It's kind of it's this is why if I was in charge, I would have booked the show around the Bloodline and the New Day, and had it main evented by a 6-man tag where neither has to be pinned. Yeah, that's what I would have done. Yeah. But when you book this match, one has to be pinned. And I would always prefer a definitive finish. As long as it's not a squash and like a one-sided, I'd always prefer a definitive finish than something that's kind of, in the name of protecting someone, devalues it because it's just like a crappy finish. So I was fine with it, but I can understand, like, if you're a big Big E fan, I can understand why this might have got under your skin and you want more. But kind of, Skillit said, I don't think this is the last we'll see of these two, and I think the Big E's time will come. Well, and I think that 100% by the time these two are all said and done, that they will have the Big E will beat him. I just don't think now was the right time.
So as Reigns, retains his winning streak, because he didn't retain the title, he retained his winning streak. He walks up the ramp, and I was looking at the screen like this.
Yeah, so was I. I didn't expect him to be there, but I saw the little graphic in the side come up. There was like the copyright logo. Yeah, I was like, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it.
Exactly, Louis. You know it, because when they did that graphic, I was like, oh, they're doing that thing they did at NXT when the graphic comes up, but some surprise really still gonna. Oh, no way.
You know what?
I'm watching the Ruthless Aggression documentary now. What is going on?
I shook my mouse, so the time came up on the thing to see how long is left of this pay-per-view. And then I saw it was like 20 seconds. I said, he's not coming, is he?
He's not coming.
I didn't expect him to be there, but I still in that moment, I was like, oh, he could. So like, I was getting all my results sorted, and I was like, so I had 2 different tabs. I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch the network just in case. I'm not going to turn it off. I'm not going to close the tab as soon as the match is done. I'm going to make sure I've got it. But even in that moment, I got sucked away from it, from my beliefs of him not being there. I got sucked into it, and I was like, oh, is he? And then he didn't. And it was a bit like, okay, we'll watch a Ruthless Aggression series until I'm done work.
He did the rock bottom to Big E, and they called it that, and I thought, okay, come on, like it must be happening then. I guess I'm wrong. It's gonna.
I mean, it's definitely gonna happen though, right? Reigns and Rock is happening, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Ever?
You don't think ever?
I don't know. If it does happen, it's going to happen in 2023 at the Hollywood WrestleMania.
That's what Mekz said. Yeah, Mekz has been saying that.
I just think The Rock's too busy. I don't know if you can take 4 months, because that's what it would be really. You'd kind of want it January to April, kind of to build it
at a minimum. Yeah,
I don't think I can't see him probably the busiest guy on the planet. Right?
Yeah.
Can he afford to take 4 months? Because he can't film a movie in that time.
But in January, if it's planned out, as you're saying, January to April 2023, he can almost like make his schedule around that. I'm being optimistic here.
Yeah, and I think he'd want to do it. He definitely want to do it because it's his family. But okay, put it this way: I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Like if we don't see it, I'm not going to be like, okay, damn, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, like I kind of maybe expected it, but maybe that's me kind of protecting myself and my expectations a little bit. So if it doesn't happen, I don't get too disappointed. But I'd love to see it. I think that, and if you want to put Roman Reigns over, there's no bigger way to do it.
Okay, I guess it's time to rank Survivor Series out of 5. So I will start with Louis. Let's go with you first, Louis. Out of 5, what are you giving this pay-per-view?
A 2 seems too harsh. but like, was it a 3 out of 5? I don't know.
It probably wasn't.
I think I'm gonna go 2.5.
Okay, Mekz, you let you agree.
2.5. Yeah. Good pay-per-view. Good matches on there, good action as we can always expect from the ladies and gents over there, but no consequence, no stakes. It takes you out of it, and it's just okay. This is the pay-per-view of this month. Let's just get through it, move to the next.
I've got no reason to tune into Raw tonight based on what happened on the
pay-per-view.
Exactly.
And that's like a big thing for a pay-per-view. Like, what did I gain?
That is a great point.
Furthermore, I'm pretty sure the Bloodline guys are scheduled for Raw tonight. Now, if you've done, because I think they said this some months ago, maybe they've went back on their plans, but Roman and the Usos are meant to be on Raw tonight. Now, if Survivor Series is brand supremacy and people can't go anywhere when they want, why are they booked for,
Hang on.
Raw?
No, everyone's on Raw tonight. Everyone.
Everyone's on Raw.
Because of
the egg. So everyone.
The Rock must be showing up tonight.
He's not showing up, man.
That's the thing. Rock would have to, they would have to promote the Rock is showing up on Raw for numbers' sake and all of that kind of stuff. Surely
they'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
Like, I get the whole element of surprise thing and like wanting the surprise of like the Rock's music to hit and everyone to lose their mind. But if you think about it critically for 5 seconds with a business mind.
Yeah.
If you're WWE, you're like, we'll promote the ever-loving crap out of this and be like, The Rock is going to be here. Make sure you buy your tickets. You make sure you tune into the show, whatever it is. Make sure you are watching. I just can't see a world where it's a surprise. Where it's a surprise. And you know what? If he turns up on Raw after not turning up on Survivor Series,
that's madness in itself.
That's mad.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Especially after his celebration show, and he's not there, but he just turns up on Raw the next night because he's worried about an egg. Like, come on.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I'm agree with you guys. 2.5. It's just crazy, nonsensical booking. But okay, Louis, thank you so much for joining us, man. Like, you're always welcome to be a guest on the KickOut anytime. Before you go, my friend, I just want to ask you 2 more questions.
Go on.
Your favorite current wrestler on the WWE brand right now, and your favorite current wrestler on the AEW brand right now?
Roman Reigns.
Yep.
And you know what? Eddie Kingston. We'll give Eddie Kingston some love.
Nice.
He's just again, that passion. It's infectious.
And you love your realism as well. And I know
exactly. You can tell how much he cares. I think Luke Owen from Wrestle Talk, he always says this. And he's like, someone needs to tell Eddie Kingston that wrestling isn't real. Because he seems like he hasn't quite realized it yet. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And you know what? I'm happy that he treats it like it's still real. Because that's what we love. So yeah, for my favorite AEW guy, I'd give it to Eddie Kingston. Out of interest, I'm sure you guys have said this on the podcast before, but who are your two faves?
Mekz, you go first.
Roman Reigns and Bryan Danielson.
it's hard to look past Danielson, to be honest.
Danielson is just absolutely, and to be honest, we were seeing this kind of more wrestling Danielson come towards his latter days in WWE, but this is just a whole nother level, man. Like this guy he's brilliant.
He's back to his old self, man. That's what he's doing. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna say. I have to give it to Roman Reigns in terms of on form. Quality right now in wrestling in WWE. So Reigns and AEW, Daniel Bryan's always been my guys, and he always will be. So Louis, thank you so much, my bro. Please, can you share your socials for people? I mean, if they don't know who you are, they're sleeping under a rock. But for those who don't know and they loved what you've contributed today, and they want to follow you and your work, where can they find you, my friend?
No, I appreciate it. And guys, thank you both very much for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. As I said, I don't get to talk about wrestling sort of verbally as much as I'd like to. So any chance I appreciate. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's at the Louis Dangoor. I post generally awful wrestling opinions and my interviews that are up on there. But if you want sort of latest wrestling news, go to givemesport.com/WWE. That's where all of my work goes. Or if you just follow me on Twitter, I tend to post most things there. But guys, once again, thank you both very much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you both.
Oh, you're most welcome, man. And you, brother. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Thank you so much. And are we going to win the league? I don't know, but hopefully we do win the league.
Okay, bye. All this Liverpool chat.
I think so. Go on. Why not? Stick with
we're going to kick out. Yeah, we're going to win the league. I don't know. But anyway. All right. Thank you, guys. Signing off. Thank you for listening.